Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. My guest on the podcast today is Brent Brooks. Brent is an international speaker and hands-on instructor teaching high-rise tactics and large diameter hose movements. He's currently a captain with Toronto Fire Service. His so far 29-year career started with Pearson Airport. He continued on to the aerospace crash fire rescue teams. He is assigned to Toronto's high-rise unit and has developed the IMS training and R&D for high-rise operations. Brent's experience includes serving on numerous committees all related to high-rise firefighting. He continues to travel the world attending conferences, symposiums, and hands-on training, and he has spoken at complex building systems, helped run the 2019-2020 Canadian HighRise Conference, and started the HighRise Round Table in Toronto itself, hosting the Toronto and Montreal HighRise Summit. And he's also a member of the Council of Tall Buildings based out of Chicago. Basically, he's bloody good and he knows his stuff. Brent's also done some great travel into the UK, where he represented Canada as a member of the T70 Tall Building Safety Committee Conference based out of London, England. Today, Brent shares information with fire departments for all over the world, and he's developing a network with subject matter experts relating to high-rise firefighting. We go in so many directions today. If you want to think about what the tactics are that are happening around the world, not just here in the UK, this is a great episode for you. He's done a lot of great research around timings. How long does it take us to get to the fire floor? How long does it take us to deploy? And how does that affect our tactics on the ground? We speak about stairwells, we speak about controlling the door, we speak about working at the nozzle and hose management, different diameters, different size hoses used across the world. We speak about different firefighting methods, looking at drones and how they are affecting and supporting and maybe being used as a tactic for high-rise firefighting in different parts of the world. And then we go into some really interesting stuff around deployment to different parts of the building, whether or not we're wearing our SCBA, when we should put it on, when we shouldn't put it on. We talk a lot around wind-affected fires or wind-driven fires, how the environment around the building affects what you do in the building. How do we account for this? And we'll talk about areas of refuse. What do people think about areas of refuse? Getting firefighters to locate and establish themselves in an area of refuse inside the building, depending on fire spread. If we're seeing vertical fire spread, is it evacuate everyone? How do we go about doing that? Or are we happy with our firefighters finding areas of refuse? And one final bit, maybe one of my favorite bits, is around how good luck teaches bad habits. How many times have we just gotten lucky without the data and without the science behind it? And how has that affected our tactics, our procedures moving forwards? So there's a lot to get into on this one today. I think you're going to love it. I really enjoyed it. And Brent is just so incredibly passionate. You know, this is a man in the latter stages of his career, we might say, but he's like a child with enthusiasm. He is just absolutely brimming with excitement. You can just hear it and see it. We share some video on today's episode as well, and I think you're going to love it. Thanks a lot for coming back to the podcast, and it's my pleasure to introduce Brent Brooks. I'll see you on the other side. I want us to attempt the impossible in today's conversation because I want us to try and hit it low enough so that we capture some of those new firefighters coming into the job, and then also try and logically, like you would teaching a class, try and take people through a lot of the fundamentals that you would consider non-negotiables when attacking a high-rise fire or dealing with fire in a tall building. So that'll be the impossible goal. If you'll facilitate me.
I can do that. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do it, my man. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together. So What would you say are some of the non-negotiables that you would expect from some of the first level rookies on your crews? What are some of the first things you teach when it comes to high-rise firefighting?
I teach the very, very basics. And when I'm into the job, I've taken nozzle forward. I've taken all sorts of different, techniques. And when we started teaching our firefighters, we noticed some weren't into the job. Some weren't very good at handling hose. And firefighters are getting hurt with the nozzle reaction, with the big line, with the smooth bore. And we actually backstepped and we said, let's just teach 3 basic movements. So we went back to those 3 basic movements and we found that no one was getting hurt. Everyone was actually able to, move the big line. So with our recruits now, we've broken it down to 3 easy movements. We call it the high heat, low drag, driving bites, making loops. And it's funny because I've got 28 years on, and we had this underground garage parking fire, and I'm knee walking the big line. I can do it, no problem. But I started getting tired, and I knew how far deep we were in, and I teach this stuff all the time. I'm getting tired, and then when you get tired, you start getting a little bit scared. So I'm getting scared. I'm getting tired. I know how far I need to get out. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I teach this stuff. Go back to your basics, high heat, low drag, your habits, your rituals, and your routines. So I switched to the high heat, low drag. Next thing you know, I get my energy back. I got a nice, smooth rhythm going, and I outdrove the nozzle firefighter. The nozzle firefighter is like, "Hey, I need more line." I'm like, "It's actually in front of you. Let's go to work." So, even the instructor needs to check himself sometimes, right? Yeah. Your habits, your rituals, and your routine.
I always call it that tactical pause.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to take that, because you almost need to gain some, spatial awareness. I also call it condoring, where even if you just listen to your breath sometimes, because you're in CBA and you can listen to it, and then you're like, wow, I'm breathing really, really fast. Why have I lost control of myself a little bit? Do you know what I mean? I'm letting a lot of this external pressure amp me up. And it can really be a sensory overload, isn't it? High heat, low drag. I think I could communicate that into, or should I say translate that into what I think that is from a UK terms. Are we talking about thermal layer and the mechanism for which you move the line? Talk to me about what that looks like physically. What's the principles there?
So when I'm on the nozzle, I'm gonna grab the bail. So on the big line, we remove the pistol grip. We found with the pistol grip, you tend to want to steer the line. When you steer the line at the front of the big line, you get that nozzle whip. So by getting rid of the pistol grip, it doesn't entice you to come up and use it. But we come back about a meter, and our dominant hand goes down low, I can actually control that big line hands-free as long as it's grounded. So I can flow 1,003 liters per minute effortlessly. I can even take my hands off the line as long as I have it pinned. But as soon as I choke up on the line and start manipulating it, it gets all squirrely, and I start to feel that nozzle reaction. So the high heat, low drag allows us to come back from the nozzle, keep it grounded, and when I go to move it, keep it grounded, but now I'm grabbing the bail. I got one knee on the ground. I'm leaning forward. I can drag that line effortlessly. The backup firefighter is doing the exact same thing. The only difference is they have one toe underneath the line. They're over top of the line. They've got an underhand grip, and they're driving at the same time. It's pretty neat. As soon as you pick it up, you're in trouble. If I stand up, the bigger you are, the more weight you're carrying. So you're carrying 30 pounds of hose. When you go to drive it forward, you're actually lifting more water weight. But I can drop that hose line, put it on my toe, and actually flip the 65 millimeter hose line. So it's keeping it grounded. It's a tough thing to teach. But now that we're teaching those 3 basic
it's a difficult discipline, yeah, I would envisage.
It just glides like...
But like you say, you never really think about... I mean, you think about it because dragging full hose is heavy as hell. I've seen some really good tools that you guys use in America. I think it is called a hose dragger tool. Do you ever use that? Is that
Yeah, it's called a snagger tool, and you can clip it.
Yes.
It just leaks.
That seems great. Are they personal issue, or do firefighters buy them themselves, or does the department provide them? Or
I think some fire departments do provide them, but most of us buy them because they come in, very, very cool colors now, and it's got multiple uses. I like it when you go up a ladder, you can actually hook it into a rung, and the hose will stay fixed on it. But yeah, it's just called a snagger tool, lightweight.
I think they're really, really great tools. I've never seen them utilized in the UK. I've got one myself, and I use it every now and again in our training department. But I get a bit nervous about who I use it in front of, because we have a lot of rules around not buying your own kit and is it tested and da-da-da. But like you say, for that number 2 or 3, we do incidents called basement discos with some of our trainees, where we send them down with a 64mm hose, 3 floors, and they have to navigate it around all the pinch points and across the, and it's basically just a ball ache, because it's, big, heavy line, full, and you're just trying to grab it, and the gloves are wet, and just the additional, arduousness you need to apply is just ridiculous. Whereas those snagger tools, I think they're fantastic, even for just getting kinks out of stuff when it's on the fire ground. You haven't got to put your hand in that pinch point and risk it crushing your fingers. It's a really, really great piece of kit. In fact, I'm really must push harder to get us to use that over here. So we've got high heat, low drag. You mentioned 3. What was the second? Sorry.
So every time we go up to a door, especially in a high rise, we'll have a nozzle and the coupling at the door. So if you take, your 50-foot stick of hose, fold it in half, that's what it's going to look like. So it's really, you're going to be moving 25 feet. You're not moving the full 50. The backup firefighter goes back to the bite or back to that loop. They can put that in their belly on their hands and knees, or they can stand up with it. And if they push that bite forward, they're actually driving the nozzle firefighter forward. So it seems weird, I know, but because of the water weight and because of the big rigid line, that bite allows me to push that nozzle firefighter forward. So I can put that in my belly, I can have my hands up, and I can walk that line forward. I'm actually pushing the nozzle firefighter. So those are what we call driving bites.
We adopted that, I think, 6 or 7 years ago, when we started using the Cleveland hose method.
Okay.
Where we would rapidly charge it on a landing, and therefore, as you say, rather than trying to pick hose up and drag it, you would just pick a bite up, and you'd rot, and it would give you about another 2 or 3 meters maybe, and then you could just take it bite by bite and walk it up and advance it in that way. And we would put a different Cleveland hose on each half landing or on each landing of a high rise. So we do bridge heads, maybe 1 or 2 floors below the fire, and then we'd go Cleveland and allow us to progress horizontally across that floor using the bites, rather than, you charge a line in a stairwell, it's a clusterfuck. It can just be everywhere if you haven't got a way to handle it.
Yeah, and you got to be careful with that Cleveland load, because if you have too many loops in that stairwell, and one becomes on top or underneath. So what we'll do is we'll flake everything out on the floor below. We'll have a gravity-assisted stretch, which has a bite. So that bite allows me to put it in my belly. And I'm actually not making a loop yet. So there's a high heat, low drag, then there's driving bites, and then there's making loops. So we'll drive the bite forward that gives us full extension. And now we're at the full extension, but we have left over on the floor below. We'll go down to the floor below, grab a bite, come forward 3 feet, push the bite on the ground. That gives me 2 loops. I roll 1 loop up the stairs. If your loop becomes higher than your nipple line, it actually becomes heavy. So on that incline, if your loop starts getting around eye level, you can just grab the bottom of the loop and pull it back. And now it's more manageable. But this is what we found. 2 loops gives us the full extension of 50 feet. And that's generally what's left over on the floor below. So traditionally, if we have firefighters at all the pinch points, I'm using 4 firefighters on the floor below stretch. Now, 1 firefighter can make 2 trips, which is 2 loops. That gives me the full extension. And you have the energy actually to go downrange.
In other news, this episode is brought to you in partnership with MSA Safety. Today we have them to thank for the improved firefighter safety through connectivity in their brand new connected firefighter system. At the center of the connected firefighter platform is the MSA M1 SCBA with telemetry. That integrates straight in with the Luna system, which is a wireless all-in-one device creating an independent search and rescue network, providing edge detection, enhanced personal thermal imaging, while simplifying post-scene reporting and data retention. All of this then plugs into the FireGrid system for cloud-based connectivity, real-time information, and data-driven decisions for the incident commander. MSA are truly taking massive strides in the future of improved firefighter safety through connectivity in the brand new MSA Connected Firefighter platform. Now back to the show. So take me back a couple of steps. Talk to me about initial turnout, initial response to and I know this is a difficult question because there's so many variations of the complexity of the building, the size and all that sort of stuff. But if we're talking 20-story high-rise, fire on the 7th, something like that, it's a domestic premise, it's a fire in a kitchen in a flat or apartment on the 7th floor, what would be an expected response, a turnout, or we would call a predetermined attendance? What minimum crews would be sent to that?
Now, we're a big department, so we're getting anywhere from 11 to 13 trucks if we think it's a fire. We'll call a second alarm if it's a fire.
So a confirmed fire, you're going to send 11 to 13 trucks. Does that include Aero ladder platforms?
Yeah. That's
Turntable ladders? Okay, right.
Yeah, that's just off the hop. But as soon as we know it's a fire, it gets in a high-rise, it gets bumped up to a second alarm. And then we're getting around 53 firefighters. I know the NFPA standard, I think it's 51. So we're actually beating that. But you get, your command vehicles, your air lights, your high-rise unit. We have a 230-foot tower. It's coming. So we have a lot of resources. But during our research, and this is new stuff, so the podcast is perfect. We found, and we can do the truck and engine company and ladders. We have ladder trucks that have no pumps on them. They're just trucks with a whole bunch of ladder. I see the sun coming up behind me there. Sorry, may have to turn. I think the secret to high-rise firefighting now is, we have these special assigned vehicles, but we may have to drop that and deploy as if we're getting off a school bus, because we know the tripwires that we're going to encounter when it comes to high-rise firefighting. And it starts with your size up, and it starts with the, failure of the FDC connection, or failure of the elevators, or the stairwell doors being locked, or we're not getting water. We can predict what's going to happen. Because of that, if we show up and we start deploying like a school bus, as you come off, here's your assignment, we can actually get firefighters within the building into the key locations. So when things do go bad, it's not another assignment, and you start eating through resources really quickly. So it's a new model that we're trying out, and I think it's the right thing to do, because you're getting your lobby control.
So this is going to be a prescriptive model for each arriving truck, because we call it a resource model effectively. So the first truck will have a very specific tasking. It may be, so the incident commander for us in the department that I work for, they stay in the lobby area. So they don't go aloft. First commander on scene will be the incident commander. They'll do an external size up. They'll get information off the alarm panel. Their crews will secure the lift, and they'll secure the water as well. So they'll twin feed the riser. They'll get into hydrants outside, and they will secure the lift. And then the second crew, usually in a lot of services, that'll be the one going aloft, but only once we've secured water. So they will establish a bridgehead. So if we go back to our 7th floor analogy, they can put the bridgehead wherever they like. Yeah. Not wherever they like, but historically we'd expect them to go to the 5th in this analogy. And if it's clean air on the 5th, they could walk to the 6th and set up on the 6th. If it's a really, really long building with a lot of compartmentation, they could even set up on the 7th on the fire floor. Would very rarely happen. It would need to be a very elongated building, again, with a series of secure compartmentation. So you'd expect them to be off on the 5th. And then they'd set in from there. And then as everyone else arrives afterwards, it's the first and second BA crews going aloft. It's the riser team coming down the staircase, checking that the risers aren't burst and all this sort of stuff. Do you send people aloft without water? Because this is a differential between services here.
As we just started talking, I'm like, oh man, I got to ask you, what are your timings? And that's what we've been missing in high-rise firefighting is, how long does it take us to get to our true vertical response time. So we pull up to the building address and we know it's 6 minutes on average.
Yeah.
But what is our vertical response time?
Because you're not really on the scene yet. That's what I mean. The size up externally is very difficult. Like the 7th is a bit of an easy one. If this is on the 15th or the 17th floor, you're the incident commander outside doing a size up. I don't know what the wind speed is there. I can't really see anything anywhere. I'll get some binoculars if I want, but I need eyes on the ground. I need somebody on that level or close to giving me some feedback on it. So we're really just setting up the pillars there. We're just setting up the foundations of the incident for the first 10 minutes, maybe. Right.
And I can tell you now from our research is after 18 minutes, you are not going to be successful at that fire because you're going to lose the hallway or you're going to lose the stairwell. And most high-rise fires after 18 minutes, it's very, very hard to recover. So what we've been doing is taking the timing. So when we pull up, we're sending crews aloft right away. It would be equivalent to pulling up to a residential house fire and parking a city block away. How long is it going to take you to walk that city block? When you start climbing stairs or taking the elevator, we always have a 2-story stair climb.
We always say it's like a vertical street.
Right. Yeah. And it always takes us on average 6 minutes. So now we know it takes us 6 minutes to get to the call. It takes us 6 minutes to get to the alarm or fire location. That's 12 minutes that have gone past. We're getting close to that 18-minute mark. So we send crews up right away. The next thing we do is we know we have 12 minutes after arrival. Because that crew it's going to take them 6 minutes to get up there.
Sorry, what did that crew take with them? I'm going to keep interrupting you and I'm going to try not to, but I just want to break each bit down. What does the first crew take with them?
They're taking a standpipe kit. They're taking a 3 lengths of hose and a set of irons. So our hose weighs 20 pounds. So each firefighter is carrying 44 pounds, not including their SCBA and their bunker gear. But our hose packs are 20 pounds. The kit itself is 22 pounds. A set of irons is 22 pounds, and that's 3 firefighters. That driver of that first in vehicle, we call it a wet test. So they're going to hook up to the FTC, and they're going to put hydrant pressure into that building. How long does that take? We need them to do that wet test within 12 minutes because we know it takes them 6 minutes to go up, 6 minutes to stretch. So they can test the system, see if it's going to work, prior to us even needing water. So when that crew gets up there...
How would they know if it's going to work, with all due respect? Two things there. One, you say they just hook up hydrant pressure. Hydrant pressure in the UK is really not very good.
It's not good at all.
You might get a 3 bar, you might get a 7 bar. So we put it into our truck, and then our truck feeds the riser, usually to a minimum. We aim to shoot 10 bar into it. But again, when you say wet test, see if it works... Well, I'm not going to know if it works until someone sets in at the riser on the floor.
So our standpipe systems here are wet systems. What we're doing is we're challenging that FTC because we had a failure rate on the dry part of that system was where the FTC connection meets the wet system. And there's a check valve there. So we'll put hydrant pressure into that check valve. And when our gauges go static on the wet test, we know we have a good chance of pumping into that building. If we put hydrant pressure, or in your case with low pressure, we can put 10 bar in, let's say. Or no, you want to go low. So you would put, I'm KPA here in Canada. We would put, I don't know how many bar. You would put 4 bar in. So you'd pump 4 bar in.
No, so we'd put at least 10. So for us, I know you said it's 100 meters tall, it'd be wet. So for us, the new legislation does say that anything over 50 meters does have to be a wet riser, but you're talking, what is that? 17 floors or something like that. If a building has a floor level higher than 18 meters but less than 50, then it doesn't have to be a wet riser. So it could be a dry riser, and that's kind of the sticky spot to us. So 18 meters is 6 floors or something like that. So anything between that and 50 meters. They're the difficult ones for me. It's the 14 floor buildings where it's still going to take you time to set up and get up there, but it's not going to have a wet riser because it's less than 50 meters. But I went down a UK rabbit hole there.
Yeah, sorry. No. So I guess the question is how long would it take you to fill that riser? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 11 minutes?
I don't know that we've done that testing. It's a very wide spectrum depending on the competency of the crew, how familiar they are with the building. A lot of our services now, we do cover crews all over the place. So you might not be on your own patch. You might not be on your own station ground all the time. And you will still get tipped out to a local high-rise. You're not familiar with the building. Some rises feed different parts of the building. Like some might feed alternate floors at times. So you've got to set into the right riser as well. It's I would imagine it's not as quick as we'd like it to be.
Right. And if we could, collectively figure out what those timings are, and it becomes, so we have a algorithm now, because we've been timing everything that we do, and it's not for the competition of it. It's for the science of it. So because we've been timing everything, we know how long each task takes. We can marry those together. And now we can predict and forecast our next tripwire. So our first tripwire will be the FTC connection will fail. We're relying on the building's fire pump initially because we have wet systems. Well, plan B is our fire truck pumping the building. So we've already put water in the building up to that check valve. We kept it at hydrant pressure because you don't want to pump into the building yet. Because when we do pump into the building, the mice, the debris, the bird's nests, the drugs, the needles that are in that dry pipe, they're coming through the nozzle. They don't go through a brittle filter. They don't go through a filter, a carburetor. They go right to the nozzle. So our plan A is the building fire pump. Our plan B is the fire truck pumping. Our plan C is we're going to stretch that 64 mil into the ground floor standpipe outlet. Our drivers are doing this within the first 12 minutes because if they get up there and they have no water, we just lost that first BA team because they're going to have to back out. They're not going to be sitting there waiting for that water to come, right?
So just give me a comparison here for a second. We had, do you know Mickey Farrell, Top Floor Tactics?
I don't know him personally, no, but I do know his Top Floor Tactics thing, yeah.
Yeah, so he's 26-year, third-generation FDNY firefighter. And he was talking to us recently about engine versus truckies, and we were covering that for the UK audience. You said your first crew that goes aloft, I know you said they take hose, two-pack hose each. But other than that, they don't take any firefighting media. Because an example, like the truckies work ahead of the engine crews in a lot of your industrial and commercial firefighting and even domestic. And they will still have a 2-gallon extinguisher of some capacity. Yeah.
Right.
We send our first crew aloft. They do take an extinguisher with them, so that if it was just a small bin fire it's just a kitchen hob or something like that, and they can make a quick attack on it. I haven't got to set up all the hose and da. Do you not send any firefighting media up there in terms of something they could deploy?
We did, and that was one of the biggest mistakes I think I've made in my career because I'm seeing what they're doing in North America, and we never had the pressurized water can before. And we get the pressurized water can, and our fires got worse. Well, why is that? So the pressurized water can weighs 25 pounds. Our hose pack weighs 20, but our hose pack has the capability of, by controlling the bail, a drinking fountain, hydraulic ventilation, a fog nozzle, the water can, or the full potential of 1,003 liters per minute. So if we get up there and it is a garbage can fire, well, guess what? We're going to hook up to the standpipe system. We're not going to set our gate and gauge. We're going to just walk over and put a little bit of water on that fire.
The team here at the podcast are extremely excited to announce our brand new partnership with Patrol Store UK. Patrol Store has been serving the UK's police, fire and emergency communities and first responder sector since 2008, providing leading brands such as Hikes, Magnum, 511, Nebo, OpZulu, Highlander, AKU and many, many more of our favourites. They are now also supplying bespoke uniform, PPE and station workwear to fire services around the UK. So for all our listeners that are part of your USAR, your HART team, your ISAR team, your armed response teams, your fire investigation, your NALO, your hazmat and all of the training departments that have got your own budgets, be sure to get the absolute best for your team at a realistic price by contacting Aaron and the team at Patrol Store and referencing the Firefighters podcast. Patrol Store will also be taking part in our listener competition giveaways as well as providing unique discounts to podcast listeners. So for people that are always asking about Hikes boots as an example, that is one unique discount code that is coming to you very soon through Patrol Store. We've also got some incredible bags. I mean, the Opzulu bags are a game changer. So you know the really Gucci and expensive tactical black bags that everyone's using in CrossFit workouts and taking to the gym and taking to stations? Well, they've basically got that, but it's made better and costs less, because they're not slapping some Gucci expensive brand name on it and it's giving you what you want on a first responder salary. Be sure to keep your eyes in the notes of the episodes for links to unique offers and discount codes. And if you're looking to buy well and buy once, be sure to get in the notes and head over to Patrol Store UK. Now back to the show. So focusing too much on plan B just meant you delayed the primary resource, which was you could just still set in with that. Yeah, I suppose because you've still got the head of pressure. Like if we're talking about a 100-meter building or 100-story building, even if they haven't set into it on the ground level, you've still got a head of pressure above that floor would provide you with enough pressure to make a very small initial attack on a stove or something like that. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So we took the approach as a fire is a fire, a kill is a kill. But what the problem is firefighters, we're very aggressive. We want to get in there. We want to go to work. We want to save lives. And what we found with the water can was, you get up there, you have no hose yet. It is a good, juicy fire, way beyond the levels of the water can. But I know if I had a water can, I'm going in, regardless. I can put out a fully involved couch. I'm going to go in. I'm not disciplined enough. And that's where these fires have been getting out of control. Where's the hose? It's not here yet. There's someone in there. We're going in. Perfect. Bring the can.
Yeah.
And you can go online. You can watch videos of someone going in and putting out a fully involved couch with a water can. They go in, they turn the cushions over. They go with the water can. They put the fire out. 1 minute and 30 seconds. Yay, win. But look at the heat conditions and the toxicity and the fact that it's zero visibility. And with ours, because we're hitting 1,003 liters per minute, that fire is done in 6 seconds. But not just the fire is done in 6 seconds, that cooling is lifted. The smoke lifts, we can do a search faster. So, although it sounds crazy, if you look at what we're doing now, we're getting water to the fire faster. We're getting in to be able to search. But that pause that we talked about earlier, that pause is us setting up that hose and nozzle package. I can deploy a water can in 1 minute, 30 seconds, but I can hook up from the floor below in a minute. Our recruits have to do it in a minute. If it was a hallway stretch, it's less than a minute. So that minute that we're taking is actually going to put all fires out, not just ones that the water can do. And then we dropped the truck and engine company thing because we also found in our studies is that if you oversaturate the fire floor with firefighters, we end up spreading smoke up the stairs, or we end up opening other suites. We can create the flow path. So oversaturation.
I was about to ask that. So we had Michael Reich, inventor of the smoke curtain, on the podcast.
I like him.
Do you guys and girls use them? Mike was great. Yeah. Do you have smoke curtains? Do you deploy them? If so, where do you deploy them? What training do you give crews in terms of how to deploy that resource?
So you got to remember the North American versus the Europe. We're using high volume, low pressure, where you're doing the opposite. Just because both tactics work, just your pressures are different than what we have. So in your case, you're putting the smoke blockade on the fire unit door, opening the door and going in. What we're doing is, because we have a 100-foot reach of stream, 1,003 liters per minute, we're actually controlling the door with the door control strap, opening it a 1 1/8 and flowing the full potential of that line. In 1 second, it goes 100 feet. It's called surface cooling. It's called water map. We don't even open that door, only the width of that stream. And we just took out the largest square footage. So the smoke blockade in our world doesn't go on the fire unit door because we're using a door control strap and we're using our water stream from just outside the door. Our smoke blockade curtain will go on the floor below stretch on the stairwell door. So when we do lose the compartmentalization of the hallway, we're actually controlling it at the stairs.
Yeah. I try and encourage us to do both. If you had to ask me which I would prefer personally. I'd prefer you put it on the stairwell door, because the most important compartment, in my opinion, in a high-rise building is the stairwell. It's that maintaining that vertical escape egress route for anybody above the fire in case they get compromised. So I would always have that as my go-to, but I would imagine in my travels, most deployment of that smoke curtain, if you only had one in the UK, most people are probably putting it on the compartment door itself. That sun's going to do you a trick, isn't it, brother?
Yeah.
It's got you now, that has. It's going to hunt you all around the house.
All around the house. Well, it's true, and the problem with the smoke curtain's phenomenal, but on the fire unit door, in my world, it's different in your world. You have to, you should use a smoke curtain, but in my world, that's where our target is for our smoothbore stream, is right where that smoke curtain's going to go. Because we have door control with a door control strap, when that powerful reach of stream hits the door, it wants to blow the door open. But we control it with our door control strap. And when that stream hits the ceiling, it turns to a giant pizza slice, tracks across and hits that glass. If that glass fails with that cold stream and the superheated glass, and it fails and it's wind impacted, and we're inside that unit, we are in big trouble. And the Vidalia Walk, the Park Avenue, the fires that talk about wind impacted with a flow path are Wellesley Street fire.
So we're talking about wind-driven fire, blowtorch effect style. And like you say, you're right, because if we put the smoke curtain on there, open the door fully, if that window fails and you can't get that door closed, that thing is chasing you across the floor. You can't get away from it.
You got 5
yes, that
feet.
door control. We don't use a door control strap. I don't know why we don't use a door control strap.
Yeah, you can go on my website. It's just under videos, and I have the door control strap. I have hockey sticks, and I show water mapping, surface cooling, and how we make entry into the fire unit. And it has that door control strap because if those windows fail, it is window. You only have 5 feet to actually outrun that, so you're not gonna. So that's why we have that door control strap. Just check out that, just the highrisefirefighting.com. Go to videos. And it'll show us, and you'll see how we make entry into the fire unit. I think it's a game changer.
I've seen, I think, is that the one where you've got a few of your other firefighters standing in the room as visual representation as to where the pizza slice would extend to? I think.
Yeah, and they got strings. They're holding hockey sticks.
Yes.
Because what we didn't know before, and Dan Slagier from Oakland, he's the brains of hydraulics. He has these theories on where does that stream vaporize, or what is your true reach of stream under 1200 degrees. So we're looking at the 1 1/8 tip. I have a 100-foot reach of stream normally outside in a parking lot, but if you expose that to 1200 degrees, well, now my reach of stream goes to 50 feet. The 7/8 tip goes to 25 feet. A fog nozzle in a straight stream pattern goes to 8 or 10 feet at 1200 degrees. So this is brand new science has caught up to the fire service. So now we can actually give you the math. Paul Grimwood's book, Euro Firefighter 2, his primary flow gradient, talks about megawatts. If the fire is this big, you require this much water. And if you go in with a little water, you got to wait for that fire to dumb down to be able to take it. So in my world, we're going in with the big water. And if I have to gate back to a drinking fountain or to as much water as a water can, we can do it. But we're treating, all our fires as a big fire. We are timing everything. And because we've been able to do that, we have an algorithm that we know we can predict and forecast what we think is going to happen once we get eyes and ears up there.
So you mentioned earlier that you have a 230 foot, so 70 meter, is it TL?
Meter. It's a Bronco.
It's a Bronco Skylift. So we have, in the UK, London Fire Brigade have bought the 64 meter turntable ladders. They intend to buy 3 of them, is my understanding. Sounds like a stupid question, but humour me anyway. What do you see is the purpose of that vehicle? There's many purposes. I'm not saying it's useless. It's very, very useful. But for members of the public that probably listen to this as well, there's a common misunderstanding of what that vehicle is there to do.
Well, it's very, very hard to pick people off and rescue people. And if you do get a people,
that's what I'm saying. People think this is for rescue. You're not doing that.
I mean, you can do it at a perfect situation, but the idea is if you have a smooth bore nozzle on the top of that basket, we're using it for exterior control or exterior attack. It's the smooth bore, it's the mass, and when we shoot that up at the building, if it's venting, and we can get a smooth bore in the ceiling. Before we thought, hey, you're creating steam, you're killing the victim. I mean, the list goes on and on. You're pushing smoke and heat. But if it's a smooth bore targeted at the ceiling, it does the exact same thing as if you're making entry from the interior. The target's a ceiling. You're making that pizza slice, is tracking across and cooling. So you could actually be inside that unit, standing up. The stream comes in. It's going to hit that ceiling and go right over top of your head. It's the same thing. So entry stream or our exterior stream, it's the same animal. So our towers, we need to get them up there for those elevated fires where we have a catastrophic failure of the standpipe system, or we can do an improvised standpipe off our tower. So different uses.
What do you make of the drones? I've seen a few videos in the last 6 months, and I'm sure that some of them may be older than that, but what do you make of the drones that you've seen used? Because the argument is always, well, okay, yours goes to 70 meters. So, and actually it's not 70 meters because with the window and the envelope in which you pitch it, it's probably only going to achieve 55, 60 maybe because of the angle that you pitch it at and all that sort of stuff. What about the 100 meters, the 150 meter building? What do you think of the drone stuff? If you've got a riser failure, is that rubbish? Is it bullshit? Do you think it's a solution?
Not knowing enough about drones as far as water application goes and how they're tethered off. The problem with it is if you get in line with that window and you start putting the water in, you're doing very, very little. But if you can get that ceiling, it's that surface cooling. So surface cooling in that UL study, it's a global cooling of that room, but you need to hit a surface. Mm-hmm. If you get up there with a drone and you're perfectly horizontal, you're going through the fire. You need to hit something, and can they provide a big enough stream mass that's actually going to do some damage? Because we know our hose lines are vaporizing at 8 to 10 feet. What is that drone reach a stream going to vaporize at, right?
I think it's the weight tolerance that's the big issue there. I don't think the weight of a hose that you're going to be trying to lift 70 meters is going to be ridiculous. I don't think a human being could lift that, the water capacity you need. So a drone, I think a lot of them, they simply don't have the strength and the ability to lift to that level.
Yeah, I think it's like taking a pellet gun to fight an elephant. I just don't think the technology is there yet, right? So you're going up and teasing the fire. Yeah. Or you are creating that steam that we don't want to. I just don't think it's there yet. Maybe someday, or maybe you need 100 drones because it's all about the stream mass, right? It's all about the stream mass for the size of the fire. Your megawatts, your BTUs require this amount of water, and I can't see you getting that out of a drone to date.
No, I would agree with you. We've seen some evolutions with floor below nozzles, with sheets being deployed with bars on them from the floor above. Give me we've made entry into the compartment. As soon as we did, quick stream, the windows failed, bang, doors gone, slam shut. What am I supposed to do now? I'm at 110 meters, the turntable ladder, the aerial appliance can't help me out. What do I do then?
So now it's a wind impacted fire, and you're in trouble. But rest assured, now 50% of that building's now safe, and it's 50% of that building safe that's on the same side of the fire. So if you go to the next unit over and open that door, that same wind that's impacting that fire is the same wind that's protecting that surface of the building. If you go to the other side of the hallway, you open the door, you're creating that flow path, and you're going to get killed. So for us, our high-rise units, and any department can do that. As part of your deployment model, get a portable monitor, a rotary distributor, and the floor below nozzle, and the opposing tip that we use for flank attack. They're all up there. It works all off of our 64 millimeter hose. So when things go bad, we're not waiting for a crew that's going to take 6 minutes to get up there, another 6 minutes to deploy the line. We're simply replacing what's on the tip of our hose line. We don't need to shut the water down to do it. Okay, fine, we can't make entry. The floor below nozzle is going to start flowing. If it's a deep balcony or a big header or lintel and the floor below nozzle stream can't target it, we're dropping a rotary distributor that puts out 2,000 liters per minute from 2 floors above the fire. We're going to drop that resin distributor in front of the unit, and now it's wind impacted with water. So we talk about a drone stream. Well, this is 2,000 liters per minute. Most of your nozzles don't even come close to that. So we're encompassing the window.
Slow that down for me and go back a little bit. Because you've gone a bit fast on something. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Full blow nozzle. I've had to play with it. I've used it.
Yeah.
I know it. The nozzle we're deploying from 2 floors above.
Yes.
Talk to me about what specifically that is. And I know this is difficult for people that are listening audibly, but try and hold my hand like a child and talk me through what that is, what it looks like.
So I know you say 64 millimeter, we say 65 millimeter here, but we're taking all our hose packages is all the same size. So we call it 65. Let's call it 64 for today. So we bring our 64 millimeter hose up. We're unsuccessful. Well, we're going to have another crew go 2 floors above the fire floor. It's the exact same hose and nozzle package, but all they're going to do is they're put a rotary distributor on the front. So that's our new nozzle. Our nozzle or our jet has been replaced by a rotary distributor that's capable of putting out 2,000 liters per minute. We're going to hang that out the window dry 5 feet. And this is why we go 2 floors above. We don't want that line to catch fire. We don't want the auto exposure to take that unit above. So we go 2 floors above. We call for water. It's only hanging out 5 feet. It's going to start spinning, and it is a lot of water. It's good for exterior cladding. It's good for wind impacted fires. And because it's a rotary distributor, it has 0 nozzle reaction. And we're just going to push that line down. It's going to be spinning as it comes.
So it doesn't get that jet reaction and fly away from the building.
Absolutely effortless. The highest I've deployed it was 5 stories. We went to the roof because we forecasted that fire is going to be to the roof by the time because we know how long it takes us to deploy. It's 12 minutes. So I said, Chief, we're going to the roof. No problem. We go to the roof. The fire had actually stalled. That's okay because we bring 15 stories worth of hose off three firefighters, but we were able to drop that 5 stories from the roof, got the full extinguishment. That was a win for us.
So again, really basic questions, but important tactical questions for anyone that's thinking about this. Are you deploying that just hand over hand? Yes. Have you got lines attached to it, or lines. How are you controlling the descent of that?
It's absolutely effortless. Yeah, it's absolutely effortless. I can screen share and show it and show you how you do it.
I think it would be heavy
for a podcast.
Is all.
It's weightless.
Just pressurized 65 mil line.
No,
I think that'd be heavy for a couple of firefighters to hand over hand it.
Maybe pulling it back up, but not putting it back down. So if you think about it, if I went 5 stories, that's 120 pounds only of water weight, and our hose weighs 20 pounds. So if I put it down 2 stories, that's like 50 pounds, maybe. So, but that's if I have to pull it back up. Going down, it's just there's more water weight behind it, so you actually have to force it. You actually have to pull it. And then start dropping it. And when we did the 5 stories, it was the same. I have 10 stories behind me on the ground with water weight. So when it went 5 stories down, it was still effortless. Mm-hmm. And then when the fire was extinguished, we shut it down, and we're only pulling up 20 pounds.
Now, to some people in the UK listening to that, and I am going to come back to it just because they may have been frustrated that we skipped over it, or they perceived we did. Sending people above the fire. Mm-hmm. That makes people in the UK a bit nervous. So we have conversations at the minute around stairwell protection teams as one example, being able to send firefighters above the fire floor and giving them the freedom and autonomy to put their SCBA on when they choose to and they perceive it's fit. Whereas in a lot of services, we're stuck on this archaic, you are not allowed to go above the bridgehead without being under air. Which obviously drastically limits your operational capability above there. When you're sending firefighters above the fire, so in that example there, however many floors that building had, but you're sending people 5 floors above the building because you believe it is having an accelerated vertical spread.
Yes. How do we do that safely?
Talk to me about the danger that places firefighters in and their ability. What safety measures have we got in place to ensure those firefighters can get out of that building if they need to? This fire is spreading vertically.
So it's training our firefighters in area refuge or finding anchor points. So we know it's wind impacted. We know we can't go down range and enter it through the front door. 50% of that building's protected. So you open any suite or unit on the same side of the fire, it's wind impacted. There'll be no smoke in there. So you don't even need to wear an SCBA. You are, of course, going to bring it, but you'll be actually deploying the Bresnan or flowing the floor below nozzle, and you won't be using any air because that wind is keeping those suites safe. So you have 50% of that building safe. Anything you do on the side that the wind's hitting, there won't be smoke in those units. So when we go above the fire, as long as we keep our doors closed, compartmentalization, understand area refuge. When the hallways gets dirty, filled with smoke, take a unit or go in a unit that's on the same side of the fire. Open the window, it's now wind impacted. That pressure is keeping you safe. If you go to the other side, that's not a good thing. So understanding area refuge is super
But even
important.
if you were to go to that area refuge, and I know I'm getting into the impossible thing. I'm not trying to force you and paint you into a corner of impossible. But, so fires on the 12th, whatever. We've gone to the roof, the 17th. We're going to drop it down 5 floors. Pushes into the stairwell. Smoke spreading through the stairwell. I need to find a place of refuge, so I'm going same side of the building on the 15th, as an example.
Yeah.
That's an area of protection. That's a safe place for me. But the stairwell's compromised, and the fire is everything below the 10th or whatever I said the fire's on. Everything below there is all right because this just fire's spreading vertically. I just feel that would make people nervous.
It does.
An egotistical knuckle-dragging moron like me would probably later get sacked for doing things that I shouldn't do in the eyes of those with a lesser risk appetite. And that's probably a bit of ego, and that's probably not safe for me to do that. I don't know. But you guys and girls are doing it.
We do
and you're not killing people every day. So help me justify that rationale just for those who are rolling their eyes or shaking their heads from the UK listening right now.
So if you Google Toronto Star article, it's called Fire in the Sky. It's a Toronto Star article, and it's interactive. There's videos, and I light some things on fire, and I show flow path. But we talk about Wellesley Street, and we talk about one firefighter survival, where it's a 400-foot hallway. The nozzle firefighter opens the door. It was wind impacted with the flow path. 4 firefighters bailed down the stairwell. The nozzle firefighter bails the wrong direction. And his story, he felt his death was imminent as he's trying to flee this flow path. And when he went down on the ground to the point where he's given up, he actually fell in a unit on the same side of the fire. He rips his mask off. He gathers himself. But he said the flames and the smoke were rocketing by his area refuge, and the smoke was just swirling by it. He's never seen anything like it. Other crews are 400 feet away with 64, 65 millimeter hose trying to make a push down the hallway, and they couldn't because the runoff water was so hot. But he's only two units down from the actual fire unit, and this is an 8-hour high-rise fire after this fact. Well, why is he safe? And that's when we started realizing we got to start understanding these buildings. We can't disrupt the building envelope. We can't be propping the lobby doors open. That's why we use 2-inch spring clamps. But we have to, the buildings are meant to have fires in them. They're meant to have smoke in them. It's oversaturating firefighters or occupants opening doors that's going to change that dynamics. But if you can't make entry into the fire department, you have a strong wind, you're going to use that to your advantage because 50% of that building will be safe. So when you go above the fire, you get into a unit on the same side, open the windows, that pressure, there won't be any smoke going in there. Now, if you have a mushrooming where things start to pancake down. It's coming from the top floor and working its way down. That's a different story. But if you're above the fire, it's simply open a window, open a door, and you can create your own flow path, a safe flow path. On the fire floor, you don't have that option. You only have 50% of that hallway as an area refuge. But above that, start thinking it as a residential house. How would I clear smoke out of a bungalow or a single story? It's the same type of thing in a high rise. It's compartmentalized for a reason, but if you understand area refuge, you do door control, and we have multiple tactics. We didn't talk about the flank attack. We talked about the floor below and the Bresnan. Well, we can also do a flank attack. And it's the same hose and nozzle package. I'm going from inside the unit. I'm unsuccessful. I go to the next unit beside it, and I'm flanking it. And I haven't had to stretch a new line to do that. It takes time to stretch up a new line. You're in bad conditions. It's smoke filled. Everything gets drastically slowed down. So why not just have those equipment up there so you can do the audible, you can do the tactics change, you can do it immediately. Be able to add to the front section of any hose and nozzle package.
Ever heard the quote that true leaders are readers? Well, we believe this is true. Listeners often ask where we go to keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in the sector globally. So there are a few key publications which I encourage you to go check out. Now, if you're looking for insights on disaster management, fire protection, and firefighting, for us, we go to Asia Pacific Fire Magazine. And when you're looking for the latest on the Middle East fire protection industry and fire services, it's Gulf Fire Magazine. And our quarterly check-in is with International Firefighter Magazine, reporting to municipal, industrial, and fire training professionals. Now, next up, and widely accepted to be the global voice for passive and active fire protection, this is a good one. It's International Fire Protection Magazine. And finally, and perhaps the most relevant to our predominantly UK audience, I'd strongly suggest subscribing to UK Fire Magazine, reporting to the United Kingdom fire protection industry and fire services. We're really excited to announce that after a long-standing relationship and mutual respect, we've now partnered with MDM Publishing, who bring you all of these essential publications. Because in a world of change, the learners shall inherit the earth, while the learned shall find themselves perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. Eric Hoffer said that, and I believe he was right. So keep growing, keep learning, and keep yourself in the know and at the cutting edge of what's happening globally by dropping into the notes. And as a gift from the podcast, you can actually subscribe to any of these publications for free using the link in our notes. Now back to the show. Stupid question. Do you guys I'm guessing you just force the window in that horizontal compartment and it just flies off into the street? Because obviously these are double pane, very tough windows on these floors.
Yeah, you have to know your building. So you're going to get like when you do a size up and you pull up and you see air conditioning units hanging on the windows, you know that you're going to have smoke issues in that building. It's going to be tricky. You pull up to a newer high-rise building and the windows don't open, you're like, okay, cool. I like this because I can actually control the smoke better in those type of buildings. So if you pull up to a older building, we're doing positive pressure isolation on those stairwells. We're gonna take that older building and make it behave like a newer building and pressurize those stairwells. And we can do that right off the hop, starting with the fire attack stairwell.
How are you realistically saying you can pressurize a large stairwell?
So we have 30-inch fans, so they'll do about 30 stories of pressurization, and then those are gas powered. When you go aloft, you can actually bring your battery powered ones, and if you can't get pressurization, you can actually create your own flow path.
So just deploy them in the stairwell at the door on the compartment or on the floor itself, and just create that pressure with the electric fan to simulate it just for that floor.
Yeah, that won't work if Mother Nature's working for you.
No.
So you actually have to create your own flow path. So you'd actually have to open the bottom stairwell doors because you need an entrance and a exit when you're doing ventilation. If you're doing positive pressure isolation, you don't want an exit. So it's understanding your stairwell. So our newer stairwells don't have roof hatches. So we can positive pressure isolate those by our big fans. When we open the hallway door to the fire unit, well, those windows are gone. If it's blowing in at us, no matter how strong our fans are, we're not going to win that battle. But if you use spiral ducting, which we have 18-inch spiral ducting, we can actually use that ducting and take smoke out the fire unit, even though it's wind impacted. That's kind of we could do a whole episode on ventilation, because it is kind of complicated, but once you get it, you get it.
Yeah, no, it's physics. I'm a TAC vent instructor in my service, but we don't really use it very much. There's still a lot of nervousness and reticence about ventilation generally in the UK fire service. I think often, in my personal opinion, it's down to the lack of experience of the firefighters, just because we have a lot of new people joining the services. But that Fire in the Sky, so we'll actually put that link, because it's a fantastic website actually. So it's www.thestar.com, and it's Fire in the Sky. Got a fantastic picture from you in there, you handsome bastard.
Oh, thanks.
I love the quote in there.
Mustache went gray.
Good luck can teach you bad habits. That's a really good quote. Talk to me a little bit more about that, because that's one of the overarching principles of the first page or two of this. And like you say, the interactive images on here. It's a really great website. We will put this, if people have a look underneath this episode in the notes, we'll put this link in there for them. Talk to me about good luck teaching you bad habits.
So, well, let's use ventilation for instance. So let's say, you've had some pot on the stove, you had some fires, and you've taken your positive pressure battery powered fan, you put it right in front of the unit door, and you clear smoke, and you're successful. Well, now you think, hey, if I need to clear smoke out of a fire unit, I put a fan in front of the door. Well, that's the wrong thing to do, because you're going to get a better fire. Conditions will be different, and you're going to overpressurize that, and you're going to fill that whole smoke. You're going to fill the stairwell full of smoke. So though that good luck has taught you bad habits, or you got 15 years on the job, you haven't had that big wind impacted high-rise fire. You've been super successful with the water can. You're going in, you're putting out these small fires. And now you get that big fire, you go in with a water can when it just, you don't have the volume of water there, and now you're in trouble. So that good luck gave you bad habits that you think is the right thing to do, when in fact it's the wrong. And that's why in our service, stop bringing the water can for high-rise fires, because you have one chance. And if you lose that opportunity, you lose the hallway, you're going to lose the stairwell. You just messed it up for occupants.
When you look at deploying breathing apparatus, that's probably a useful place just to give us a little bit of a whistle-stop tour about the level of control that you guys and girls have. So again, we have people listen to the podcast at varying levels of experience, varying levels of awareness. Many of them have never gone outside of their own small service, perhaps here in the UK. A lot of people are conditioned to not going anywhere without an engine control officer and radio communications and all this sort of stuff. How would you deploy your SCBA in a high-rise fire? What level of control do you have over it? Deploying on the floor, above the floor? Just give me a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of that if you could.
So if we have, let's just say, a small department, and we deploy like a small department. So we're going in with 3 firefighters, all of which have SCBA, and we have tags on our bunker gear. We're going to get in the elevator, and all our tags are going to go to the elevator control firefighter. The elevator controlled firefighter is going to take us 2 floors below. 2 firefighters are getting off. Elevator control is also giving us that 3rd hose pack. So we have 150 feet of hose. Technically, we have 15 stories of improvised standpipe as well. That firefighter is going to return to the lobby. They're going to have 3 tags. When that 3rd in truck gets there, that lobby control officer takes everybody's tags, and that's how we start logging in, because everyone wears a BA in a high-rise building.
And when you say taking their tags, so this is just their tally out of their set with their name on it. Has it got any more information on it? Does this person store them in a particular way, or are they just putting them in their bunker gear pocket? What's are they identifiable by any means? As an example, the person in control of our breathing apparatus on a fire scene would wear a specific tabard to visually indicate they are the person that will have knowledge of the deployment of our BA.
Right. So everyone is responsible for accountability, but our tags have our face, our employee number on it. And if I'm on HighRise 332, I'll have them all hooked together. So that's one crew. Then it goes on a board, and you write down the time they went on air, where they are in the building, what their assignment is, and we just track it that way. It's kind of
where's that board going to be located?
It'll be located in the lobby, so everyone has to pass that firefighter.
I know you say it sounds simple. I actually like it. So we were talking with Lars Axelsson, the Swedish fire nerd. Do you know Lars?
I know, but I got to meet that guy because I love his material. I know how the U.S. Fire Service kind of dumping on him there for a bit. Watch the whole thing. Yeah. Watch that whole video. You'll get it.
He goes into some really good detail. The way he puts his videos together, very good. We had him on recently, and he gave some great differing opinions from our approach to entry control, and I personally agree with them. I'm sure I'll be misquoting Lars. My memory's terrible, so I'll put these as my thoughts and not his. But like you just said there, that level of accountability, that level of personal responsibility, you're in charge of your own BA. For me, it is a piece of personal protective equipment. If you choose not to wear your helmet, that's your own decision. I mean, I'll tell you off, and I'll encourage you to stick your helmet on, but it's your helmet. You wear it, don't wear it. If you got a BA set, as long as I know where you are, you're a competent wearer. If you want to put it on, you don't want to put it on, as long as you make sure you're wearing it in an irrespirable atmosphere. If the area becomes compromised, you've got it. This prescriptive, you must always wear it and never take it off until you come back to me approach that we have in the UK, I really don't like it. I think it's a very poor use of our resources. I think it limits the ability of your set and what you could do with it, because you could spend time, as you often do, you'll go under air and you'll spend 10, 20, 30 bar in a perfectly respirable atmosphere, and you could actually just wait and put it on when you need to.
100%. I mean, you're experienced firefighters, and remember, high-rise buildings are meant to have fires in them. That's how they're designed. But we're getting better now because we can now predict and forecast, and this whole algorithm thing that I'm talking about, send 5 firefighters downrange on the fire floor. Your third in truck, it's called a MIST team. So they're medical, they're IRIT, they smoke control, and they can assist with the stretch. They're one floor below with their BA set. There's only 2 of them, but they got the medical equipment. Firefighter goes down, we can deal with it. They find an occupant, we can deal with it. Elevators fail, that's fine. We have the defibrillator, we have everything up there. We also have a RIT team coming up to one floor below. So now we have 4 firefighters that are trained RIT. We have the 2 firefighters that were initially medical, IRIT.
What's RIT? Sorry, is that rope access? What's
RIT is rapid intervention team. So they rescue firefighters. So they have, each one of them has an SCBA,
right.
And then
so
they have
that's your emergency team, effectively.
Yeah. So if anything goes wrong, we have a redundancy, and they're only one floor below. 2 floors below, that's where you get the army of firefighters that are bringing up all the equipment that we need. It comes off our high-rise unit. You're getting their Sawzalls. We're getting more SCBA bottles. Those different type of Bresnans, the floor below, the opposing tip nozzle for the different tactics for high-rise. We're going to take an 80-story building and make it a 3-story building. That's our objective.
What's carried in a RIT pack?
So you'll have a 1-hour bottle, you'll have an extra face piece, you'll have a quick fill, you'll have rope for your search line. It's simplistic.
A 1-hour bottle?
A 1-hour bottle.
Is that a 9-liter cylinder pressurized to what, 400 bar?
Oh, geez, so we're different. So it would be 4,500 PSI or something. I don't know what that is, but like we carry 45-minute bottle, like we wear 45-minute bottles, and then the RIT kit has a 1-hour bottle.
I was going to say, so we traditionally used to have the 200 bar SCBA cylinders lasting approximately 30 minutes. Now we carry a 9-liter 300 bar cylinder. Again, really giving you only 32 minutes, really. So when you said it lasts an hour, I'm like, what cylinder is that?
Yeah, so it's the next size up from the 45 minutes.
It's a big cylinder. That's not standard for the cruise. That's just what you would use An emergency RIT.
We use it for RIT. The high-rise units have them. So anytime we go below grade in the subway, we change from our 45-minute bottles to 1 hour. So everyone goes through our airlight unit and they switch their bottles out. The high-rise crew already has the 1 hour bottle. All our hazmat operations all use 1 hour bottles. So we do have a lot of 1 hour bottles on our job. So below grade, you're putting on a 1 hour bottle.
So in the UK, we term them long duration sets, and we only carry them on limited trucks. Right. That's not necessarily on every single truck, unfortunately. If you're a regular listener to the podcast, then chances are you are big into your own personal development and the development of firefighters around you. So I wanted to remind you of our mobile app Drill Book. This is a free training and development resources made by firefighters for firefighters. Heading onto Drillbook, you will find incident debriefs, radio messages, notes and lines, quick reference guides, quizzes every single day. We've got useful links to the ERG, to Web Rescue, to Jessup, Euro Rescue, 10-second triage, National Operational Guidance, and not to mention our daily quizzes where you will find questions on extrication, casualty handling, breathing apparatus, fire development, water rescue, rope rescue, you name it. It is the go-to resource if you've got a spare 5 minutes on the firehouse to develop yourself and those around you. Not only that, if you're looking to get into the fire service, we've got advice on there on interview questions, interview answers. You can build your own questioning in there. And again, remember, this is built by firefighters for firefighters, so you can add your own drills in there. You can pick the drills that you find the most favorite. There is literally hundreds of training ideas, hundreds of drills in there. Remember, this app is absolutely free and it grows every single day down to the contributions of our thousands and thousands of users. It's freely available on Android, Apple, and you will find it in the links for this podcast. Remember, it's called personal development. The clue's in the name. You've got to work twice as hard on yourself as you do on the job. So always be growing, always be developing. Now let's get back to the show. So we've covered a lot of ground there. What are some of the common questions that you get? So again, for people's familiarity, we'll cycle back for a second. You've been doing 28 years now. You started at Pearson Airport. You then did a whole bunch of stuff, the aerospace crash, fire rescue teams. You now work in Toronto still. Yeah. Is that right? You're a captain in Toronto Fire Service still. But you travel all around the world doing this.
I love it.
We've got listed on here Toronto Montreal HighRise Summits. You've been doing stuff in the UK, in Chicago, Canada. I see you came to the Tall Building Safety Committee in London, England. What are the pushbacks you get? What are some of the common challenges that you get to proposed methodologies? And what are some of the problems you're trying to solve at the minute? What's some of the things that you feel we're not quite there with?
Right now, it is the 65 millimeter hose. People think it's too heavy. You can't do hydraulic ventilation. It can't protect you because it's a smooth bore. You're going to do way more water damage. You need more firefighters to move it. And in my presentation, I call it kitchen table talk. So after an instructor leaves or after they have a course, they go to the kitchen table talk and then they start shitting on the different tactics. So because I've been, I think 142 fire departments now, I take all the kitchen table talk stuff. I call it, it's a type of cancer, rumor mills, whatever you want to take. I write those down. My presentations are based on kitchen table talk. I'm not going to go, hey, this is how you do it. All right, let's talk kitchen table talk. It's too heavy. Okay, why is it too heavy? You need more firefighters. Why? You can't do entrainment. Really? Why don't you try half bailing it and removing the tip? You'll have the best fog nozzle you've ever seen. And so we start playing with that concept, and we show the firefighters, if you bring the 64 millimeter hose into a basement or into a confined space, it's unmaneuverable. So then I'll show them, I'll grab the tip with my pinkies, and it's called hula hooping, and I'll bounce the hose all the way back. I'm like, well, that was effortless. Now it wasn't. I'm an old guy. So we take the myths in firefighting and we kind of have fun with it. I'll put a bunch of firefighters, I'll say, okay, get your 4 strongest firefighters, get on the 64, and I want you to stand up with it. So they're all standing up with it. And I'll put my hands up and I'll put it in my belly and I'll push all 4 firefighters with it. I'm like, whoa, what? I said, how about you put it on the ground and I'll put all my weight on that nozzle. I can't move them. But as soon as they stand up, I can move all 4 firefighters. Well, that's how we play with nozzle reaction. Don't pick the hose up. It's heavy. It'll give you nozzle reaction. Same with the pistol grip. We'll get them flowing water. And I'll take my finger and I'll push on top of the nozzle and you'll see it want to lift up and push them back. Then I'll take my finger and I'll pull the nozzle. It wants to whip to the left or whip to the right. So it's that forward hand that causes our problem when we're flowing water. Lose the forward hand. Control it 3 feet back. Now it's effortless. Now I have no nozzle reaction. I have no nozzle whip. My target's the ceiling. So we take the hardest questions, and those are the ones you need to answer, because those are the ones that will change the culture of your fire department. Not just, hey, this is how you have to do it. Give them the rationale, give them the explanation behind it, then you'll get your buy-in.
Talk to me about water application, because you spoke there about the argument that is posed around water damage and the amount of water that is used. And again, for people that are listening that are liking, loving perhaps some of what you're saying, but again, we have this issue in the UK of water pressure. We have smaller diameter hoses traditionally. So I've been talking about 64s. We actually won't tend to use them in a high rise. We use our 52 mils. Yeah. Because that's the smaller hose that we have, and that's what we'll take aloft with us in a lot of places. A lot of places still have 45s, so they might be taking 45s in. What would your solution be for that? Would it be an adaptation of your current principles, or
so I'm just
how would you help us? And also, there is a big pushback from us around water damage. Water damage can cause a lot of issues long term in that building if you're flooding the 12th floor.
So here's the funny thing about water damage is the insurance companies invited everyone to Atlanta, and they said, stop worrying about water damage. I have never, ever gone to a fire and told my driver, hurry up, get there quickly because the sprinkler heads are going off. They don't give us easy access to shut the sprinkler heads off either. If you look at the amount of damage from sprinkler heads, it's almost catastrophic. Every single residential high-rise building,
anything we're going to do,
has a half-inch threshold in front of the door. So that hallway can take a half an inch. The stairwell doors don't. So all that water goes down the stairwells. If the fire doesn't go out, and that smoke, you're killing people. You can dry things out. You can't unburn it. Flow the full potential of the nozzle for 6 seconds and see what happens. When in our case, they were 16-minute fires. Flow the full potential of that at the ceiling, the water mapping, the surface cooling, that fire's done. Whereas you take a smaller hose line and take more time fighting it, you're going to do actually more water damage. Target the ceiling. You don't know where the fire is. You can't see it. Surface cooling, hit the ceiling, the full potential of the line. Your fires will go out quicker, meaning less water damage. If black smoke is down to the doorknob, in my world, it gets the full flow, the full potential of the line. That fire's out. Anything that smoke touches today is considered fire damage. It's that you heard that it's 5 gallons of gasoline for each thing of for each piece of furniture. Well, gasoline is diesel fuel. Diesel fuel smoke. The drywall's coming off. You're just not repainting anymore. The carpets are coming out. The ceilings are coming down. Smoke damage is fire damage. So don't worry about water damage. The insurance companies aren't worried about water damage. I was told in my career, don't put water on the fire until you get in there. And then once you locate the fire, don't put water on it because we need to search, because we need that fire to be able to see. Because we were putting low volumes of water on it. So as soon as we hit it, it would darken down. We couldn't see. Now we're putting high volumes of water on it. We're hitting it. We're knocking it down. The smoke's lifting. We're using so much, even though we're bringing a big badass line, 1,003 liters per minute, we're not flowing that nozzle for very long anymore because we're putting so much water down range. So it's that quick, rapid knockdown surface cooling. It's better for occupants. It's better for firefighters. The longer you take to fight that fire, that's where you start getting into water damage. Post-water damage, that is on us as professional firefighters. So all that water in the hose will actually keep static pressure in the line. So we'll shut the nozzle down. We'll go back to the standpipe. We'll shut it down. We'll shut our gate down. Now we have water between the gate and our nozzle. We can take it right outside if we wanted to. And by driving bites and making loops, take it right outside. Those sprinkler heads are still going. They're still causing water damage. The insurance companies are telling us, don't worry about water damage. That's a firefighting thing where we're so concerned about water damage. Don't be negligent. Don't just go in there and flow for the sake of flowing. Target that ceiling. water map. Go from Metallica to Mozart on the nozzle. Get on the nozzle. You're one. They're going to name a street and a bridge after you, the one firefighter, and go from Metallica to Mozart and just let that stream work, surface cool, and just watch the difference that'll do to your fires.
Mate,
hate me now, but it's the truth, right?
No. You're so right.
Like we decon our gear and it's hazardous and all this. Well, it's not. We're not deconning fire. We're deconning smoke. So the longer you let that smoke spread, you're killing people. Stop the progression of smoke and use as much water as humanly possible to make that happen. Once it's done, now we're worried about water damage. But if there's a fire in the building, there's no such thing as water damage. The insurance companies will tell you that. Even the Walmart facility in the States and the Home Depot, I don't know if you know this story about the fire department went in and shut the sprinkler system down. They end up losing the facility. Well, we put a sprinkler system in your building for a reason. Don't shut it down. Don't turn it off. That's the building's problem, right?
You'd be furious, wouldn't you?
Right?
Fire service had done that.
Yeah.
I was looking on your LinkedIn recently. You got hold of Steve Serbick's book. Is that extinguished? Is that Steve's?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So I was just out to Victoria and donated. I guess we did 6 days in totals, but we basically did a HighRise manual for them and trained their I guess three shifts. The trainer. We did all that. Donated our time to them.
That's incredible, mate. That book looks awesome as well. I'm going to get that ordered, and I'll probably try and make contact with them as well. What other subjects are up on the HighRise Summit this year that you think are of particular interest that you're perhaps looking forward to listening to?
I'm doing 3 things at FDIC. So we have a 3-day hot class. It's HOSE, the hose class. And then I'm doing an hour and 45-minute lecture within FDIC. And then I'm doing I think it's 20 or 40-minute lecture within the Tall Building Conference. But Jack Murphy, Jerry Tracy, Gerald Mann from Australia, Frank Leap, Peter McBride, Michael Reichen, all those, and I've spoken with all of them before. These are like-minded firefighters that, we share information. So no matter who you go to listen to, it's going to be good. It's 3 days within FDIC. Pick a speaker, or if you're going with more people from your department, split it up. Someone go see me. Someone go see Frank Leap. Someone go see Jerry Tracy, Jack Murphy, Peter McBride, Gerald Mann. Go see those firefighters. Jimmy Davis from Chicago. We talk every single week. And it's us two that came up with the timing, the algorithm. Hey, this is consistently happening in fires, and it consistently happening at these times. We can now forecast and predict our high-rise fires. Let's get this pen to paper and start fact checking this to get it out there. So that's what I'm doing now is every fire, I'm listening to the audio. Yep. It's consistent. How long did it take? We're almost like there's an app for that type of scenario.
Look, man, I think it's going to be an incredible event this year. I got the invite from Russ to come and attend this year, but God love money, I could not get the time off in my service. So I'm out to Saudi for a couple of weeks before that, and then I was hoping to come there with MSA, but my service. How do you get time? Do your service allow you to, your department, do they allow you to just go and do this because it's spreading positive messages? Or tell me how you do that. Maybe I need a little bit of personal coaching from you to convince my organization to let me go and do this stuff.
I'm just a solo guy. So, people get mad at me. You should be out there, charging, 10 grand for a visit and this, that, and the other thing. I said, you know what? I said, if I start doing that, and I've been doing this for 14 years. I said, if I start doing that, then I don't get to go research. So when a fire department calls me, I don't care how big and how small you are. I said, I need to come. I need to pay you to have me come because I want to weigh your equipment, take pictures of your hose load, see what you're flowing, understand your deployment model, how many firefighters, how many trucks. And then I've been logging all that. I mean, I could start charging probably in 2025, but right now it's a wash. I go there, here's my Expedia, there's my room, blah, blah, blah. Perfect. They pay it. I get my data. I go back, I call Jimmy Davis. Hey, this is what I did today. We talked to our friends, Gerald Mann, Peter McBride, Jack Murphy, Jerry Tracy. We Zoom on Sundays and we're like, what did you get? This is what I got. Okay, perfect. You see the pattern here? But if we charge, that reduces the amount of people you can go see. Yes, you're making money, but you're not. I want to make the curriculum that the people making money can go out and actually teach the tactics that we're coming up with. So I'm a early adopter, if you want to call it that. I just want to come up with the material to make it safer for us as firefighters. And until we get that curriculum done, there's no point in stopping what I'm doing. I have to continue to do it because we're almost there. It's just, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. All this hard work is going to pay off because our deployment's changed. We've dropped the water can. We're flowing big water. We know how smoke moves. We know area refuge. We know spiral ducting, ventilation, the multiple tactics. We have 8 different improvised standpipes. We have 8 different tactics on top of that for high rise. So that's 16, different things that we can do for high rise. Well, now we know by sizing up the building, which of those 16 tactics we can use. So we can do a battle plan now. Okay, this building is going to be, we can use 4 improvised standpipe and 6 tactical objectives. So we can actually pull a card now for a high rise. This is the future. Here's your battle plan. We know the stairwells. We know we can do a well hole stretch or we can't. We can do an exterior stretch or we can't. We can open the windows or we can't. We're going to ventilate out the north hatch or we can't. So the future in high rise firefighting is going to be awesome. So we can, and then, can I tell you this? I think Dubai was able to pump 310 meters, like pump calves. We were so close to getting a facility in Canada that we can do 400 meters. If we do 400 meters, it is going to be a game changer for the fire service. It really is. So you can build these buildings bigger and we can get firefighters into them. But stay tuned. It's a 4-inch or 100 mil hose type of scenario. We have the math. We've done the legwork. That'll be the next thing in high-rise firefighting. If we get that done, all this information that we've been collecting from all these fire departments is going to be simplified, and the world's going to get to have it. And then I can wash my hands of it and finally retire.
I have a feeling minds like yours will probably never retire, but Brent, it's been absolutely incredible, brother. I think what you're doing, your passion is absolutely infectious. And it feels an absolute privilege to have the conversation with you, but also a privilege to see that people like you are still out there hunting this information with that just absolutely relentless, insatiable desire and thirst for knowledge. It's been an absolute privilege, brother. I'm going to be touching base with you. I'd love to have Jimmy Davis is a new name to us. I'm not aware of. Where's Jimmy based?
He's out of Chicago, the exact same amount of years I am. He's at truck 43 or engine 43, busy. He teaches high rise. We teach it together. Same passion as me, but he uses that Chicago, I don't even accent, but he says tripwires. That's brilliant. He's like these little things that Jimmy says. I just love it. I write them down. I need to steal that. Can I use it? He's the high rise guy. Clark Lamping's another one from Las Vegas. These are all like-minded firefighters. And
when Clark's last name? Sorry,
Clark Lamping. He's from Clark County. But yeah, we speak together. We'll be speaking together. Me, Jimmy, and Clark will be speaking together in June at the Canadian HighRise conference. But then if you go and look at retired Jerry Tracy, look at Kirk Isaacson.
Jerry's on our list. I've had a few conversations with Jerry. I've not had him on yet. Jerry, I was supposed to see him with Stefan Svensson when last year at the Fire Behavior conference in Portugal, I think it was, or Spain, Portugal. But yeah, Jerry's on my list. We've had Gerard, we've had obviously had Michael on before. These just incredible people that it's just a privilege to be able to share even an hour or so with you, brother, because this is information that sometimes never quite makes its way down the filters to some of the people here in the UK, and that's not because they're not interested, it's not because they don't care. It's just sometimes making it easy, making it digestible, for them to onboard some of this. And even if it's brand new to them, even though you guys and girls have been doing it for maybe a decade, as long as they have the desire to learn, which the eternal student in many firefighters still has, then this is a great place for them to get it. But we're going to drop the link below this to your LinkedIn if anybody wants to try and reach out to you if they want some more information. And also what we spoke about, the Toronto fire, the Star, we will put that link in there as well for reference for people to go and have a look. But thank you so much for your time today, brother. I really appreciate it. Send my love to the family. And I sincerely hope we get an opportunity to spend some time together in the not too distant future.
Vice versa. Thank you.
The Firefighters podcast was created to recognize, acknowledge, inspire, and hopefully even motivate these incredible individuals who have chosen to be part of the first responder community. Our drive and purpose is to create a legacy resource for the current and future generations of firefighters and first responders. We get some incredible feedback from listeners and guests. And as the podcast grows, our desire to create longevity and sustainability means we are asking for the support of our listeners. If you want to support the podcast, if you want to get discounts to our merchandise, hoodies, clothing, coins, patches, tallies, and also access to all of the incredible documents get shared with us from our podcast guests and sector leaders, then please head over to our Patreon page, and for just £3 a month, you can support the future of the podcast. Please finally hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on the platform you're listening, and wherever you're in the world, please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.